Corruption spreads in the frigid north of Terra, a malevolent and ancient corruption that has existed for centuries, slowly but surely advancing south. Every minute of every day of every year, this corruption isn't the work of an ancient civilization, nor the work of great and powerful gods. No, not even the corruption spreading from the depths of Terra's oceans are like this. They say that to defeat one's enemies, you must know them. But what if that very knowledge spreads their corruption further? The demonic forces of Terra seep into the world through a gate to another world. Their power and influence is a carefully guarded secret by many governments, but the danger posed by their existence is held back by a thin veil that the demons seek to pierce to freely spread their demonic influence over Terra. The Collapsals, or demons as I will be referring to them, are one of the most terrifying creatures that call the world of Terra their home. So let's discuss this corrupting cancer of Arknights. Demons 101. What are demons? Who are demons? Why are demons? Let's start off with the easy one. What are demons? The demons are extra-dimensional beings that have invaded Terra, seeking to corrupt the very world itself. Are they biblical demons? No, they are more like chaos demons. Trust me, we'll get to that comparison later. The demons are this formless pollution that spreads through the land in an unending tide. They both have and do not have a true form. Demons seem to be both able to and unable to affect the world separated from their corruption without being perceived by intelligent life. But that is perhaps because Terrans don't understand exactly how they work. With one tip discovered by a Colombian researcher being to photograph suspected demon activity, as their characteristics would not appear in those photographs. However, Colombians are far from the experts on dealing with demons. So, if you're ever lost in the woods of Sami, hope one of the locals find you. Hailing from the northern lands beyond Sami, the demons leak out of an ancient gateway located within the Infi icefields. This ancient door opens up a wormhole to allow travel between two different places, even allowing for one to peer back through time, although not an intended function and seemingly a result of the destruction of a separate door. There are at least two of these doors on Terra, one in the foreign hotlands and the other, as previously mentioned, in the Infi icefields. Also, as previously mentioned, the one in the hotlands is a little destroyed right now. The door's existence is unknown to the vast majority of Terra's population, as it is yet another remnant of the Doctor civilization. So until the expedition seen in Integrated Strategies 4, there were only a handful of people who even knew of the door's existence. Why the door was built is still unknown at this point, perhaps as a method of circumventing the star pod, or perhaps as a way to facilitate travel to the other planets and moons surrounding Terra. Regardless, something went wrong, and suddenly there were demons. It's still not entirely clear whether this happened during the time the Doctor's civilization was around, but regardless, the door is kinda messed up as a result. And even a race as powerful as the Doctor's was, probably no longer had the resources to deal with the demons by the time it would have happened regardless. But the door is just that, a door. It doesn't just spawn in a bunch of demons. The demons enter the world from a place called the Void. Basically the warp, but Warhammer comparison comes later. The Void is an alternate reality, adjacent to the reality where Arknights takes place. The demons might not even originate from here. We just know that they have a massive presence in this Void. Potentially, this is what remains of a reality after the demons have had their way with it. Only time will offer us answers on this, I'm afraid, so let's move on. So, what are some of the telltale signs of demonic corruption? Well, the goat Patriot described the monsters that came from demonic corruption like this. We cleansed monsters, twisted, stinking limbs, eyes in the hundreds, fingers in the thousands. So, at a minimum, we know that demons take on a grotesque form, even by Patriot standards. Their shadow is not just a fancy term for spreading demonic corruption, but an inky blackness that follows them, seeping into the ground around them, covering their form and corrupting their victims. Black, formless bodies that human eyes struggle to comprehend, even when staring directly at them. Consider them a blob of corrupting entities. Their form is not real and tangible until they corrupt something and twist it to fit their demonic vision. Animals, plants, people, and even technology. Nothing is safe from the spreading corruption. Even knowledge of the creatures is enough to spread their corruption. Take a piece of demonic infected food and eat it, boom, you're corrupted. Study a piece of technology found in the region of Sami that was a bit too close to demons, boom, your entire lab is getting corrupted. Tell someone about the nightmares that have been haunting you since you glimpsed one tear your loved ones apart. Congratulations, you have just corrupted your therapist. It is this nature as an info hazard that requires the strict control of knowledge regarding demons. While all of Sami knows of their existence, the general populace of countries like Ursus and Yan, two countries bordering the land of demons, know nothing of the demons to the north. The nations of Terra that do know of the existence of demons keep it a closely guarded secret due to this, with typically only the leaders of a country knowing of the demon's existence. But you, good people watching this, would probably like a little list of what demonic corruption is, so let's go through some. Blooming plants with no visible roots, especially in flower form. Congratulations. These can even act as a beacon to specific demons, though even without that, they can spread the influence of that specific demon by themselves. Pitch black snow, you might have a demon on your hands. And considering how demonic corruption is associated with this spreading shadow, it is likely in a region that isn't snow-filled, black rain would also be a sign. Distortions in people, plants, and animals that don't look quite right but can't be perceived through photography, that's another sign of demons. Human bodies that are contorted by demonic corruption, taking on some of the following, but not necessarily all of these traits: having black patches, being hollowed out of your organs, oozing black blood, corrupting the ground around you, faces losing all definition and becoming a black hole, and dead bodies coming back to life. If you've seen any of these, it's probably too late for you, but having the information is half the battle. And I've been calling them demons, but that isn't their only name. The demons of this world gained their name from the Colombians who studied them, due to their existence collapsing the nature of reality around them. The Collapsals. Yeah, the Colombian scientists swore deep in their bag for that one. The Collapsals have some degree of reality warping and space-time manipulation that comes part and parcel of being in existence that corrupts the world around them. So you can understand why they are such a threatening enemy. Typically, their influence spreads in ways that break conventional physics or mental concepts, causing physics to just not work in a particular area or causing its victims to begin losing their grip on reality. If you've played Integrated Strategies 4, which if you haven't, why not? You would know that this event is called a collapsal paradigm. Taking an example from one of them, I quote, "The boundaries between numbers in this area have become blurred. Humans have lost the ability to recognize natural numbers." So, demons can just take away your ability to count. Obviously, it's not the only thing they can do, but with demons having this level of control over areas infected by them, it's no wonder that they have proven to be so difficult to get rid of. They can also spread their area of influence in another way, one that anyone who has played A Walk in the Dust should recognize: dominion, a pitch black contamination that can be spread over an area, the demonic corruption overriding the area that existed before then. So, if you didn't know before, the legendary Emperor's Blades of Ursus are created through some arcane process involving imbuing shards of the demons into the armor they wear, making them superhuman monsters capable of crushing the enemies of Ursus, but at a great cost. Injuring one spreads their corruption further, and they carry the innate taint of demonic corruption wherever they go. Even the action of killing one may be a worse threat than battling one, as upon death the demonic corruption quite literally erupts from them, spreading the taint of demons wherever one of the blades fall. In one specific battle, 20 of the blades would die, and the resulting catastrophe would be so severe, Calcit would describe the place as no longer being part of the world. So yes, demons are pretty tough to deal with. Even when killing one, it might just doom the area they died in. So how does humanity actually deal with demons? Well, there are a few ways. For the most part, countries like Ursus and Yan simply reinforce their borders with soldiers that they can throw at a problem until it goes away. The Emperor's blades, being created from demons, are quite effective at dealing with them, so as long as the demonic corruption doesn't overwhelm them, they're a pretty solid solution. Yan has used at least 2 of the Sui siblings to defend its northern border before, and the old Tianchi, one of the immortals calling Terra their home, has defended Yan on its northern border for over 300 years. The people of Sami are different. They live in closest proximity with the demons, and as such, all members of the Sami people are acquainted with dealing with them to some degree. Typically, the Sami people rely on the traditions of Sami to ward off the evil, but when that fails, the Snow Priests, those who are in tune with the will of Sami the most, will use their rituals to drive off demons, with Snow Priests being perhaps the most important individuals in a Sami tribe, to the point where tribes without Snow Priests are often considered doomed. The Colombians have also attempted to replicate some of the Sami traditions with science, which has yielded mixed results. Luckily, Typhon has been lending a helping hand, steering them in the right direction, and so Ryan Labs has been able to spread the Sami's teachings, making travel to the north a little easier. There is of course another way to deal with demons without resisting the inevitable tide: seal off their means of entry, a feat which has been accomplished twice. Once 1,000 years ago by 2 great kings, and again by the expedition into the ice fields that occurred during the events of Integrated Strategies 4. Both of these events used different methods and would have different outcomes. The Great King of Kings and the Great Kagan, the ancestors of Siege and Tola, 2 of the greatest heroes in Terra's history, managed to successfully drive back the Collapsals south of Sargon. By combining their mighty armies and marching deep into the forest south of Sargon, the 2 legendary heroes managed to reach the heart of the area where the southern door was located. The 2 kings managed to destroy the gate at the low cost of turning the once great rainforest that existed there into a vast and uninhabitable desert known today as the Foreign Hotlands. And that is a pretty low cost considering things. Sure, the 2 heroes were technically trapped in a time loop by the gate, but the demons can't hurt Sargon anymore. At some point following the Victoria Crisis, Magellan, Santella, Typhon and Valorquin would all journey forward into the depths of Sami and travel deep into the heart of the Enfi icefields. The group would overcome many challenges, earning the trust of Sami, saying goodbye to noble heroes, and finally overcoming a great demon who waited at the door for them. Valorquin, recognizing the urgency of their task, sought to sacrifice herself to save the others from the demons and seal the gate in the north. But before she could, Amma, the mother of Sami, arrived, single-handedly driving back the demon and sealing the gate. The Beast Lord, in one fell swoop, defeated the demonic menace and proved why the Beast Lords are the most goated race in all of Arknights once again. And so, the demonic threat to the north was overcome, although, unlike in the south, there was still much cleaning up to do in regards to ridding the land of demonic corruption. Oh, and the Witch King of Latania may have created a little breach into the void where the demons come from. One that upon his soul being fully erased following the events of Zwillingstorm Imhubst, threatened to plunge Latania into crisis. Thankfully, Hildegard of the Twin Empresses sacrificed herself to hold back the unending tide of demons. Is that a permanent solution? No, not really, but it will work for the foreseeable future, so that little thing is future Terra's problem. But it does show that if reality was to collapse anywhere across Terra, that the demonic invasion could easily plunge the world into darkness. And now that it's all been said, I'm going to tell you a tale of a world where a great ancient race constructed great gates that allowed for travel beyond one's world. Where 2 of these gates, one in the north and one in the south, were created to allow this great empire to traverse the stars themselves. And that following a series of unfortunate events, these gates would fall under demonic influence, and demons would begin to spread their corruption across the land, where only through great effort could these monsters even be delayed, let alone stopped. And that these demons' very existence threatened the sanity of all those who knew of them, and that the corrupting influence twisted the humans into something entirely different, yet still human. What would I be describing to you? No need to play coy here. I mentioned I was leaving it till later at the start. It is of course Warhammer Fantasy and Arknights. Demons are of course a big part of Warhammer's identity, with the whole chaos thing being just a little important to the lore. Listen, there are entire channels dedicated to explaining this stuff if you want a detailed explanation of what chaos is. I'm sure you can find it. But in relation to Arknights, Hippogriff clearly drew some inspiration for the Collapsals from Warhammer Fantasy. The gate in the furthest northern regions of the continent, with the Russian analog being the main empire that separates the rest of the continent from the demonic threat, Kislev and Ursus respectively, with the not Chinas of both settings, Cathay and Yan, having their own defensive borders manned by dragon siblings to defend against the demonic incursions. Even the southern gate demons flood out of is essentially not an issue in both settings anymore. It's a little similar. Am I saying Arknights straight up stole Warhammer's homework? Yes, but considering Warhammer Fantasy's roots, I think Arknights gets a pass on copying some homework because Games Workshop, despite what their liars will tell you, is in no position to be complaining about other people getting inspiration. Listen, a whole video could probably be made explaining some of the comparisons between Arknights and Warhammer, but it can wait. So, the future of demons is a little uncertain at the moment. They have clearly played quite a large role recently, with Integrated Strategies 4 and Typhon's event essentially being a lower dump for the group. Even stuff like Hero People's Souls and Zwillingsstorm tied back to the demonic lore. I can only imagine that the demonic forces of Terra will return to us in a future storyline, but when and where is hard to say right now. With all of that being said though, what do you fine people think of the demons that inhabit the world of Arknights? I very much find them to be a fascinating part of the world, and even though a lot of the unknowable horror has been stripped away by the nature of learning more about them, such is the fate of all things when you actually focus on them instead of having them hidden behind vague words in your visual novel. And finally, some YouTuber stuff. Thanks for all the support on the Babel video. To say it did numbers would be an understatement. Literally thousands of views, likes, and comments. An incredible reaction that I honestly wasn't expecting, but it makes me very happy regardless. This video was meant to come out on Halloween, thematic and all that, but my mic decided it didn't like me very much. And it doesn't like me very much at the best of times, so you know it was bad. Regardless, my next video is going to be on chapter 14, so look forward to that. Spoiler alert, I think it's very good, but I'll be telling you all about that next week at some point. Till then, be good people, and I'll see you next time.